Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Fiona at Drawings in a Drawer and I upload a new video to YouTube every Friday. So the other day I got it into my head to test some of these liquid watercolours I had lying around for a while. And it wasn't until I actively picked them up that I thought, what are these? But it does say liquid watercolours on the bottle. So I thought it has to be for the very lazy people like me who can't be bothered with mixing their paints with water, right? It didn't take long for me to realise I hadn't exactly got that right at all when I used the little pipette over my clean sketch. As you can see, these are extremely pigmented. I did try to lift that with kitchen paper, and that was when I realised quite clearly that these should not be called liquid watercolours at all, because they don't behave like watercolours, and if you start a painting thinking they do, you'll have to do a lot of work to fix the damage. Quick disclaimer, I am not bad-mouthing this product at all. I am just saying the writing on the label can be slightly misleading, so take it with a pinch of salt. After realising what I had done, I decided to go in with some burnt sienna and paint wet and wet in a sort of monochromatic fashion. But real watercolour basically offers very, very little coverage on top of this so-called liquid one. In fact, the yellow underneath almost seemed to be getting brighter to me, and I started going in with pinks and reds to tone it down. But here is the fact. I was still thinking and acting as if that first layer had been watercolour, and honestly, I don't know why. I think it's pretty obvious looking at it now that it was something different. I was actually listening to a podcast while filming this, and I think my head must have been elsewhere because I was so far into this piece when I decided to swatch the liquid watercolours and check how they behaved compared to regular ones that yes, I was clearly very into this podcast I was listening to because I was letting my hands mindlessly do all the work. Sometimes I'm like that while painting. My hands do seem to do a lot of decision making without, really checking in with my brain. Anyway, if you're here and you've been listening up till now, before you go on, please leave a comment down below. It would be really cool if you did that. Just leave a paintbrush and that will let me know that you have been listening up till now. And now let's go back into talking about these liquid watercolours. So you can see me working up till now exactly as if I were doing a regular watercolour painting. The reason why I went in with a full layer of yellow at the start was because my initial plan was to do a monochromatic painting, so using various intensities of yellow. That plan quickly hit the trash can as I proceeded to layer, as I always do, with thin washes of watercolour, desperately trying to get things more under control colour-wise and just to understand where I was going, what I was doing and what the heck was going on. In spite of everything, the process was still fun, and had I known beforehand, possibly going in with much less of that product in the beginning would have helped immensely because it would have been more subtle. I'm curious to see how it would work for the underpainting technique, again in smaller quantities, because it absolutely does not shift and possibly could help to make the whole painting process much faster, which if you think of it could be very useful when you want to do a quick study of something and you don't want to spend as long on a painting. You will see me attempt the glazing technique a few times. Usually I do this with raw sienna or yellow ochre, and here for obvious reasons I did it with Madder Lake Red Light. Very quickly, just let me say that the liquid watercolours I used here were Ecoline by Royal Talens and Colorex by Pebeo or Pebeo, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think the quality is similar, but I'm not sure about the price tag. Possibly in shops, Pebeo or Pebeo are slightly cheaper, maybe more in Europe. And online, the Ecolines are about €30 for 10 little bottles of it. But if you buy them individually, they're up to €12, which is definitely not cheap. And finally, I decided to test them. I woke up and realized, something wasn't quite right. So I just got the colours out and I swatched them. I swatched the Colour X first, and I used magenta in both cases, and you can see very clearly that there is literally no lifting happen. And when I go in later with Madder Lake Red Light, which was the only one that was normal, regular watercolour, the level of lifting is completely different. You can totally almost lift the paint, the watercolour paint, completely off the paper just by tapping it with kitchen paper. So yeah, that's when I realized finally, when the portrait was almost done, that there was no way I was going to be able to cover that initial layer of yellow watercolour, liquid watercolour, by going over it with regular watercolours. So I really just am speaking from the ounce of personal experience I have with these liquid watercolours, and that is with the piece you see me doing in this film. So again, this is just my personal experience. I did some light glazing with the liquid watercolours, this time proceeding with a good degree of caution. It does say brilliant colours on the bottle for a reason, and that is because brilliant they are indeed. So there is not much further information on the packaging. I'm not sure if possibly it was on the cardboard or paper part of the package with the Eco colours by Royal Talens. I'm not sure because possibly I disposed of that long ago, so I can't check. I had to do a little of my own research, and the difference between these liquid watercolors and regular watercolors is that the liquid watercolors are made with ink or dye, which we have noticed very well does not lift and apparently is not as light fast as watercolor is, while regular watercolors are made with pigment and binding agent, which can be gum arabic or honey in some cases. So yeah, there is quite a big difference in how they are made and how they behave. Definitely, that is something that I noticed. So jumping to our final conclusions. Would I use these again? Are they worth it? Why not? I would probably advise anyone to watch a tutorial about them beforehand, and I would also imagine that they are not conventionally used for portraits that often. But I love the intense background I got with these, and they definitely deserve a little more experimenting with. Let me know in the comments, have you used these? Do you use them for lettering or something else? I'd be curious to know. Well guys, that's all. You know, all my full narrated tutorials can be found on Patreon from the $5 tier a month upwards. So you just need to sign up to that to access all of them immediately. And I will leave the link down in the description box as always. And you will also find my Instagram there if you want to connect with me over there. I have also just published a new class on Skillshare about the super expressive watercolor portrait. So if you are on Skillshare, check that out too. And yeah, it's been a blast. It's been fun being here, and being here with you every Friday has definitely been a novelty, and it's keeping me focused on my art, which I am loving, and I have you to thank for that as well. And leaving a comment down below or just watching this means the world to me. That's all I'm going to say. So bye for now, and I will see you here next Friday with another video. Bye for now.